impending ultimate. You get a Cataclysm, though, and you lock everyone down. If they don't have Flash, then that's incredibly easy for you to just line up and get a majority of your burst damage down, especially when you have something, especially when you're getting for the center of the ultimate. But they haven't gone for the Jarvan yet, and now Divine, I guess there's no real threat, or they don't have a fear of going up against the Jarvan because they're just locking the Galio and the Corki instead.
Yeah, I guess with the Jarvan pickup, they feel like it might be too passive, but you know, one team are just willing to go for it either way, right? Just play in the lane, whatever you want to do. It just looks like a good pick against what Divine Esports have. You lock in the Olaf, you lock in the Darius. It's such a good pickup for this team. And Divine Esports, I mean, they're just drafting for counter engage, just looking to dive down against one team, double down on any aggression that they have. But it's, wow, what a composition.
Yeah, as we enter this this last game, you know, this is basically the end of the road for one of these teams. So it's gonna come down to this draft. And, you know, I again, it is bittersweet that this is the end of the road for either one team or Divine Esports. But I would say, you know, Big G, just quick thoughts. Are you which draft are you most comfortable with, I should say?
Okay, I feel like Divine Esports have an idea, but I'm leaning towards one team's draft.
Me too.
Interesting. One team as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you have Jarvan into Olaf, and Len is such a integral part of how Divine Esports want to win the game, and he is so important to the foundation of their success. If you are harboring Len because he's playing Olaf, and you get to soft counter him with Cataclysm, Len doesn't get to do anything in these fights. And then the rest of the team that one team has are all backliners that can safely interact with Olaf without Len having the chance to get out of that Cataclysm pit. So it's really going to come down to how well Divine are able to play around Len's Flash. If they can ensure that he always has Flash going into major fights that can change the momentum of the game, then he can escape the Cataclysm, right? He can get out of the pit, start running down the backliners, but if he doesn't have Flash, then Len just doesn't get to do anything in those fights, and that's where things worry me, because you look at the rest of the draft that Divine Esports have, and it's really all about facilitating Len rather than playing off of him, because no one else is bringing that much damage to the table.
Yeah, well, hopefully we will see if these teams can indeed dish out the damage as we step into Game 3, the final game for one team versus Divine Esports. Casters, over to you guys.
It's the last stand. We're one game away for discovering on who will take this series away. One team versus Divine, 1-1. We're down into the third game here, Riku, and it is definitely an exciting series to watch because one team came back from Game 2.
Yeah, 100%. This is so critical in our day one playoffs. Of course, one team, they want to stick around. They want to claim first place after becoming so close during the Summer Super Cup. And for Divine, of course, it's a crazy journey for them so far. Imagine the summer, the C Championships is basically their debut into this regional stage, this big stage. And now they're facing, and very close, one game away from moving on to the next round, and they've been doing phenomenally well, even having to 2-0 EVOS Esports during the group stages. I'm very interested to see how this is going to pan out, especially with this composition. Rafa even stated himself, Len, will he constantly use the Ragnarok as an escape tool, or can he use this aggressively, knowing the fact that Kid is on a Jarvan 4?
Yeah, and he has to use the Flash if ever he wants to go away, but if he uses the Flash, so much value out of that lost for Divine Esports, or lost for Len specifically, if he just used that to escape because he does not have any more escape route or extra engage onto one team onto those team fights. So I'm glad that you mentioned about Len, because it is also a player, it is also a champion that I'm looking at for Divine Esports and how he can maneuver himself up against one team esports. But for now, what I'm seeing is a switch in lanes here for Divine, going for a Rakan top alongside with Darius because of how one team is playing this through with Ninja 7 and Stu also top lane. Now, how could this work out? Because I'm seeing Rakan to be expected to be more impatient, while Kaisa and Lulu be more aggressive.
Yeah, the lane swap is very necessary here just because Ninja 7 on a Kaisa. Hold that thought though, as we might potentially see a dive that one kid sees coming, therefore is not going to be in any risk. But again, Kai'Sa matchups are very awkward, right? There's a lot of AD carries paired with aggressive supports that can just basically dive into you. That forces the Kai'Sa lane swaps constantly. They don't want to deal with a Rakan Corki lane as well, so this is the call. But I think the most interesting thing about the dynamic now that one team has is that Kid is not on a carry. He's on a tank. He's gonna be the one who shackles Lin, not through sheer force, but as a tank. We're not gonna be seeing him on the usual carry duelist. So I think this is very effective in this certain matchup where one team shifts focus on Ninja 7 now to carry late game and Baya as well. The biggest question is, will Divine give them time? Because the mid game coming from Divine is absolutely scary.
And it's spicy, right? Because Taunt X is Snowball, Len is great in the mid game. You also have Coyote to follow up from how Len can engage. So I love that you mentioned about the mid game looking very, very intense for Divine Esports specifically, especially how Hope 1 can also build into either path onto Crit or onto Trinity Force, depending on what he wants. But looking at this one, I think he rather go for an Essence River with a Crit build for Corki, so we could expect a lot from that. But here in bot lane, we're seeing another as Kuei goes back down.
And they're going to be okay as the lane swap, just as you mentioned, basically stabilizes. Possibly in time for the Dragon. It is going to be an Air Drake, which is usually, you know, we get to see teams prioritize Rift Herald a little bit more, especially you don't have assassin junglers on your end that wants to roam around the map. I suppose Shanyo would so desire to get that and see if he can get the lead and then maybe initiate possible jungle invades to get the lead in this early game. So now we get to see resets coming from the AD carries. We'll see, as Divine would be happy to unlock topside to get and funnel gold for Tonex and basically re-enable him, produce the same Tonex from game number 2.
Because if they allow that, we all know that Taunt X is an absolute menace of a player, is an absolute menace of a champion. He's probably one of the best team fighters in the world, if not in the Southeast Asia alone. So we'll see how he can play this out for Divine Esports. But for now, we have a parallel shift. One team starting onto the Cloud Dragon while Divine starts with the Rift Herald.
We'll see if they're able to drop down to get First Blood Tower here.
Yeah, because One Team Esports is aggressive in bot lane. But Xiu doesn't have any more creeps, doesn't have any more minions to follow up in getting those. And while Divine topside is uncontested, getting the tower for his blood for Divine.
It's so difficult because Coyote has Winds of War. They've got Phosphorus Bombs coming from Hope 1 and as well as the Rockets. So wave clear is very rich. Even if Baya is present, he has to walk manually to the lane where one team wants to focus on. And the fact that Divine Esports has First Blood Tower plus keeping the Rift Herald to pressure mid lane.
Yeah, and I think this will be one team going into mid lane. And now Xianyo,
Cataclysm.
look at Jarvan 4, Cataclysm locks down onto Coyote, but Hero's entrance used up to save his life. And now Rift Herald just punching on the turret. They want to get this. Rift Herald, go! But Divine Esports will not be able to pull it up, and only one turret plate secured by Divine mid lane. Now Tonex is going to get polymorph in that fight. And Tonex flash upper hand gets on 2. Bai uses the satchel charge to go back away, and Coyote slowly walking in that fight. Zones away the enemy team. That is over. One team gets out of that fight.
Could have been dangerous for Divine Esports. Tonex really wanted to initiate that. He even consumed the flash here. Again, there's no proto belt into apprehend. Aiming for more of that tankiness just because one team has a lot of damage on the board and as well as single target. Wants the Icadian Rain as well. Just having to funnel through and shred you, which is very understandable because, again, having that survivability, meaning you get to be more involved in the fights.
Now Tonex 3v1, he is gonna get slain. Look at that, but Tonex still surviving. Honey Fruit is a clutch, but a kick down from Lee Sin. Xianyo with a Dragon Rage, and Ninja 7 gets the kill.
And now their focus has been Tonex throughout this whole game. It's very, very scary because, again, they were hoping, Divine was hoping that they could unlock Tanex again from game number 2, and one team is just preventing that. And so far, now pressure will solely heavily rely towards Len on this Olaf to get ahead. No kills so far in this game. He is currently having a hard time because Kid has been focusing the Cataclysm constantly.
Yeah, and speaking of, Cataclysm into the mid lane, coming in to lock down onto
Ragnarok.
Len. Len uses up the Ragnarok, still gonna be alive. And one team does not get the kill, but just zones him away. Look at Tan next here. Polymorph, and now he's gonna get killed once again by Xianyo. It's Coyote. Gonna get slain. And one team just doing a lot of work here.
Coyote! I wasn't quite sure on his location over there. He was very far from the team, possibly wanting to get deep vision for Divine Esports for a possible pick, perhaps, for forcing skirmishes in the one-team jungle. So far, though, 2K gold lead, and look at this, this is what we're talking about, the constant pressure. Xianyo, Air Drake, very important for them because they get that movement speed just to keep pressuring the deeper ends of Divine Esports' jungle.
Yeah, and Divine Esports pushing them away, but this is the problem, right? Xianyo is too mobile of a champion, can jump through walls, can jump out, can Sonic Wave, make these plays, and one team keeps on doing that. And Xianyo is just amazing on this champion. He plays very mechanically up against Divine Esports. If they cannot handle that pressure, it's going to be very much more difficult for them, especially with some soft counters being picked up by one team. Jarvan 4 locks down onto Len. And I think Divine Esports could pivot themselves into another way here up against one team, because for now, it's already one team leading the pack with 1k gold lead.
Yeah, it's really hard because Tanex plan didn't work out. The Len show didn't work out. So who are you going to be banking on? Hope 1?
Yeah, forces out the flash because he cannot go away, and Cataclysm is just so massive for a value up against Len. Now Divine Esports is just around the corner trying to contest. One team is gonna let this through though, and Divine Esports starting onto the Ocean Dragon. One team is there. Divine waiting for that opportunity.
Tanex.
Half HP coming from the Ocean Dragon. Tanex gonna get kicked by Xianyo with her Dragon Rage. And it's now Divine Esports.
What?
One team has lost it, and Divine has stolen the Ocean Dragon for themselves, and they are fighting it. Who will get this up? Wild Goat will be forced onto Ninja 7. Kid into the front lines, dealing low damage because he built on tank build. And now one team just goes back. Divine just steals it, goes back as well.
And Divine Esports is happy about that one, but at the same time, they're up against one team who is gonna scale. Ninja 7, very deadly on the Kaisa. Bias bombs are gonna hurt, therefore Divine cannot afford to linger around objectives as much as they can. Tanex leading the charge. Again, we've seen this before. Len keeping the Ragnarok, just consuming a flash to escape the Cataclysm from earlier, saving the Ragnarok just for these situations. And Ninja 7, at this point of game, well, not at this point of the game, he'll slowly become such a huge threat. And Divine didn't have anything to work with anymore, so they decided to back away.
Ooh, Blastcone, what a
The
clutch,
kick.
but a K coming from
What?
Xianyo puts him back in
Coyote.
cage, and Coyote is very low. He uses up the punch to go back, and now they're safe.
They're safe for now. And we talked about this before. It's such a huge problem that Tynex wasn't able to get ahead in the early phases of the game, but that can still be remedied with poke coming from Hope 1. Imagine this scenario. Baron area, Hope 1, lots of pokes landing onto one team. Oh, I see someone who's low. Tynex enters the scene, then finishes targets off rather, with the guillotine. So I can't imagine that scenario because again, Divine, we mentioned, the analyst desk has mentioned it basically, that where is the damage going to come from? Hope 1 on Corky. Hold the thought though.
Ooh, Xianyo forces the flash, also Ninja 7 to follow up, so 2 flashes away with only 1 grand entrance from Quay.
Very, very tricky there. Len doesn't have Ragnarok available. He's fine.
Yeah, they're not following up. They're not following up.
For
But
him.
Tanex almost gonna get pinned down, but still gonna live, clears out the wave, one team forced to back away.
It's very critical to set up for the next dragon. Infernal Drake up for grabs. We do love to deny that away from one team because they are already going to hurt. They already hurt now. Imagine with the Infernal Drake as well, especially as the game progresses. And again, I believe we touched upon this earlier towards the analyst desk. I mean, of course, caster AD carries Corki versus Ninja 7 with consistent damage. Auto attack based carries like a Kaisa, of course, late game would benefit because as a caster AD carry, your shots have to land. An auto attack, even if your cooldowns are off, you can still deal massive damage with the passive stacks as well that a Kaisa can provide. We'll see though.
Ooh.
This Cataclysm has been burned already.
Wow. And Quay does not even have to use the flash, so he just goes back from that battle dance. Massive play from Quay.
At this point of the game though, 12 minutes, I feel like the Cataclysm will be in a very low cooldown, well, relatively low cooldown there for Divine. Can use that really teeny tiny window to see if they can take advantage of that. Let Len reign free as is Olaf.
Yeah.
Baron.
If he could. Baron Nashor starting up by Divine Esports, and one team is there. Zones away from Coyote with the taunt, but Divine Esports is going back too low for Canex. Exhaust to win. Heroes entrance. 3-man knock-up, 4-man knock-up, and now it's Wild Goat forced for Ninja 7. Coyote pulled back though, and now it's Len with the Ragnarok zones away.
What?
And now he's just gonna get eviscerated. Coyote jumps back in, he falls down. Xianyo is now there. Sonic Wave will not connect though.
Look at the bombs. Baya, even though Divine Esports has been winning all of these fights on paper, their HP bars are just too risky to even try to get these objectives to fight again because Baya is there. The threat, without Ragnarok, you will not have access into the backline. You cannot reach Baya at all. So it's very critical to save that Ragnarok either on stealing objectives or reaching Baya. So at that point, Divine Esports cannot reinitiate that fight.
And even then, Baya just got information against Divine Esports and greatly punished by one team. But for now, when we're looking at a goal, when we're looking at a kill standings, this amazes me. There is only single digit for both teams and 1k goal lead for Divine Esports. So both teams are holding on very, very patiently and very, very risk-free. But this, I think, can pivot down very badly for any of both teams because the Baron Nashor will be that constant pressure, will be that massive value of objective.
It just shows how critical this game is. Again, one will go home, one will still get to continue their journey in the SEA Championships. And of course, one team, as the first runner-ups back in the summer season, would still love to get that crown. Divine, it's their first time here in this big stage with all the best teams from Southeast Asia. And of course, they want to make their first time count, and they've been looking really solid. And look at them now, fighting toe-to-toe with almost equal in gold and as low of a kill count of a game.
Their ascension to greatness, man, for Divine Esports, from the play-ins to the group stage and now to the playoffs, is an absolute amazing feat here for Divine Esports. But now the question is, can they follow this up? Can they bring this into a win, fall through into the lower bracket quarterfinals up against some more teams here in the SEA Championship 2021? But this is a very difficult question to ask because for now, it is anyone's game. It could pivot downscale for any one of these teams. As once again, we keep on stating the Baron Nashor will be the source of team fight, will be the starting signal for any of these teams to initiate, to engage for that opportunity.
And it's so critical too. Hope 1 has a lot of crit on the board already. You've got Solari Charge Blade, Essence Reaver, and Infinity Edge. One team cannot fight in choke points, or else all the rockets will funnel through, and they're just going to get shredded. That is not going to be a fun time. So they have to pick their fights in terms of the territory, or the terrain rather, to make sure that does not happen. So open spaces will be the key.
Yeah, and do take note, Hope 1, with the Gatling gun, decreases down the armor efficacy here for one team. So if he just constantly just produces that amount of damage with this crit item build, it's gonna be so massive. If you're looking at it, he built into 75% crit rate and he bought 2 more knuckles, so that's pretty much 95% crit rate for now for Hope 1.
That's why one team is so careful. There is an attempt. Look at Kid.
Oh, Kid locks down Cataclysm, but apprehends onto Xianyo, and also Kid pulls them back out of the cage. Xianyo goes for the Stasis Enchant, and Len goes for the Honey Fruit, still survives, and now one team is very low on HP. Two of their members is one third.
What?
Uses up the flash with a flag and drag. What?
Oops, apprehend.
Connex apprehends, gets one. That's a follow-up from Coyote, but a clear instinct into the backside, gets a kill. And now it's Ninja 7 going to die from the hands of Hope 1. This will be the 1-for-1. Divine Esports will hold on. One team will do the same, but Baron Nashor is that pivot once again. This is their starting, and we saw it happen.
Now, they don't want history to repeat itself. One team, we saw them pinging Baron. Divine not falling for the same events again. They decided, okay, let's just fight for Elder. This is a less riskier choice. All ults are available except for the quickness coming from Quay, which is going to be very important. I believe one team has everything soon. 17 seconds of the clock, though, without Ninja 7. He has to buy TP boots to join this fight immediately.
And Divine Esports is starting onto the Mountain Elder Dragon. If one team comes down, this is very massive for them. And Tonix tries to zone them away, buys a bit more time for Coyote to follow up. Let's look at this. He is not buying the TPs, so he has to walk. He has to go traditional
There
route,
it is.
but TP's coming from Ninja 7. So this will be a 5v4. Hero's entrance, though, goes in quickly, zones away the enemy team, knock up onto one. Divine Esports pulling up onto the Mountain Elder Dragon, 2k HP down, quickness, and
Jungler down.
answer from Quay, actually massive, but gets a kill onto Xianyo, and Divine gets the Mountain Elder Dragon. Look at Ninja 7 to the backside, Killer Instinct gets two, and now this will be the 4v2. Coyote still gonna be alive, Tonix as well, but they will get killed down. That will be Sue taking the last hit of this, and Tonix is just running away. He has to defend.
Because Divine has managed to get that Elder on their hands. They've basically won on paper at least, and both teams have suffered chip damage from the minion waves at their respective lanes. Let's take a look at this again. Ninja 7 buying teleport boots. That really good knockup into the Hera's entrance just for that additional shield, and I really like this coming from Divine. They basically rooted out Xianyo right away to make sure that no 50-50 Baron steals are going to be there. Therefore, Len is able to smite comfortably, but the killer instinct from Ninja 7. This is the point of the game where it's so scary because Ninja 7, every time he's going to killer instinct, everybody's just going to get shredded down, and that is the threat of what we call the late game, which is the Kaisa.
Kaisa, the queen of late games. Can we put the title on this champion? Yeah.
I think that's the unofficial official title. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, true. I mean, that's fair. There's a lot more champions that also scale late game, but for now, it's Kaisa leading the throne here for one team. Now it's 2 for 2 dragons, but Divine Esports has more because that's the Elder Dragon. So I think the Baron Nashor is the winning condition for any of these teams. Because when we're looking at it, this is very important. But Kid, once again, uses up the Cataclysm. Easy way out for Quay. And now Kid trying to 1v4, 1v5. Wild go with a 2-man knockup, flag and drag, zones away. Tries to go back, but Quay, 2-man knockup as well. Hero's entrance comes in, will not connect onto anyone. Loses it down, but Coyote, 2-man taunt. Kick coming from Xianyo, cancels it. And Divine Esports, very low for Hope 1. And the jump in, the bombs from Vaya, kills Hope 1, kills Quay, Tonix gets killed, Len and Coyote the only one left, 5v2. One team goes away though. They wanted Baron Nashor instead.
Those are a lot of death timers, my friend. 36 seconds for your main carries, and it's only Len and Coyote left to try and steal. Everybody is so low on the side of one team. Divine Esports, can they hurry?
Xianyo almost gets killed by the Baron, and now it's Len coming up. But no, it's too late for Divine as one team gets the Baron.
That is a crazy set of events there. Divine Esports, we talked about this before. Hope 1 has a lot of crit, but again, as that caster AD carry, you will have a fun time if everybody's pretty much clumped up together. But comparison to Ninja 7's impact in all of these autos as a Kaisa, especially late game, is just so painful. Everything's going to count. Everything is just going to shred you. And that is exactly what we saw. That's the reason why CU would constantly put the wild growth onto Ninja 7 every single time, especially before he just applies that killer instinct. And now We get to see one team. They can feel it. They can feel that they can still survive in this tournament. Divine Esports, though, what are their options? They can possibly get a fight that is prolonged. Maybe get Len to see if he can dive towards the backline, but it's looking pretty grim at the moment.
Yeah, tier 2 turret into mid lane already down for Divine Esports as one team took it. Where can this go? Can this go into a distance into inhibitor turret? Because now Divine Esports is now on Shaggles, going for a split in mid lane and also bot lane as one team tries to look for that pivot, tries to look for that loophole. But Quay, very low, so much damage for one team. Hope One is
Kick?
isolated though. Xianyo almost gets a kick, but jumps back away instantly.
Lucky Divine has wave clear. They've got Hope One with so much AoE to clear down the waves. And the possible punish if one team goes under the tower, Coyote's just going to greet them with a taunt.
Yeah, and Divine Esports is ready. Quay is ready. Everyone is ready from both teams who is going to take it down. But one team always gets it. But now Quay just jumps in, and that grand entrance with a quickness, massive onto Kid, puts him at half HP, and Divine Esports holding on so much up against one team. They cannot penetrate the inhib turret.
That is crazy. There was an attempt coming from Quay, but just as you mentioned, it is the satchel that is able to deny that possible engage, and maybe even to leading into the hero's entrance. Because at this point of the game, 23 minutes, death timers are going to be incredibly punishing. Look at Coyote, far away from everybody else. A little bit risky, but I mean, there is still the rest of the squad nearby. This is very tricky.
Coyote was dancing with the Angel of Death there. It was like so much risk, but he escaped cleanly, unscathed in that one. So Divine Esports right now, pretty much 4K gold deficit, but at this point in time, it's not much more about gold any longer because pretty much every single one has 4 core items, 5 core items, especially onto the ADCs of both teams. It's now more about your team coordination, how you would play this out.
Yeah, what my main worry now is that one team has double life, which is the Guardian Angel for Ninja 7 and as well as Zonia's Hourglass. Meanwhile, for Hope One, yes, you do have that defense coming from the Phantom Dancer, but the biggest question is it enough? One team can reset the fight with just so much stalling that can happen here. Look at Divine. They're pushing through the waves.
Yeah.
Bot lane has waves climbing through the bottom portion of the map, so one team, if they're able to defeat Divine, they can just rush through that portion of that map. And now the goal is again, Baron. It's back up.
Oh, Kid jumps with a Cataclysm, locks onto Tan-X, but once again gets away safely. And look at Xianyo, backside, gets on Quay, but Quay just jumps back in with a Battle Dance. Very safe for everyone for Divine, with the cost of 2 ultimates.
Looking at Coyote, he wants to join the fight. The wave has already been pushed towards bot and as well as top. So one team now at a small map control deficit because they're forced to respond to that. Divine now starting the Baron, possibly only using it as a bait. Remember, the reason why they lost game number 2, this could have been over, is because of the Baron. And I can understand why Divine is so incredibly hesitant because again, this is that elimination game. One will go home, one will still continue their journey to the C Championships.
Yeah, in a best of 3, towards the 3rd game, do or die for both teams, for Divine and one team. High risk, high stakes for both. One team now starting onto the Baron Nashor.
It's
the risk
so fast.
tolerant. Yeah, but Kaisa being there, it is so quick,
Len,
it is so
flashing
efficient.
in.
But now,
Whoa,
it's
what?
one team getting the Baron with Ziggs, putting him down, and Divine Esports is fighting
Hopeless.
this through. They want to remove that buff, but Cataclysm locks down onto everyone, and they will just get a raise. And now Hope One, Len, the only one left, and Stacy Sanchan buys a bit more time for Hope One, but he will die. GA will pop, Satchel Charge will do it, and now it's one team taking everyone away. They're pushing with a Baron buff. They're going for the top lane. They're trying to finish this game. This might be over. 30 seconds on the clock for Divine. 26 minutes in this game, and one team takes the game, takes the series up against Divine.
No way!